He got on a webinar where he found out the day before there were 10,000 people on it. Right? I said, he was like, what do I do? What do I do? I go, you just do what you're taught and trained to do. I said, you're talking to one person. Mm-hmm. That's all you're doing. Just talk to that one person. You're not talking to 10,000 people. You don't do that when you're talking to a group. Talk to that one person.
It's important to care for your audience. It's important to care for the one that you're speaking to. But what is more important is to make them feel that you care about them.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Epiphany Off the Cuff. This is going to be our bi-monthly podcast that we're going to use to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm going to be your host, and I am joined by our co-host, Hazel Haygood, and we have our guest in the studio today, Joe Yazbeck. How's everybody today?
Hello, everyone.
Doing great.
Doing good.
All right. Outstanding.
Yes.
Now, Joe's an amazing guy. Let me read a little bit of Joe's bio. So Joe is an acclaimed international master speaker, a leadership coach for top industry executives, public servants, and entrepreneurs. He's the best-selling author of No Fear Speaking. Joe, we've got to talk about that a little bit. It's about how high-impact public speaking secrets to inspire and influence an audience. It's now published in 8 languages. Joe has delivered over 4,000 presentations around the world for the past 35 years. And he actually just revealed to us that he's lost count. So he's been out there doing what he's doing for quite a while. But he's inspired, thousands of leaders. As a matter of fact, Joe and I met through an amazing conversation we had. We had a couple of conversations. What was that when was that, in 2021 sometime?
2021, I think sometime in the fall, Rick. A very high-spirited conversation, I might add.
Yes, it was. And it was quite enjoyable. And he really challenged me to sit down and really think about, what I want and, where I want to go in life and that sort of thing. And it was actually an absolutely great conversation. And, we had some dialogue back and forth about that. And, as a result, I really wanted to have you on the show. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here and have this conversation. This is terrific.
Awesome.
And Hazel, very nice meeting you as well. I'm going to enjoy this.
Lovely to meet you as well. As soon as I read your bio, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet this guy. Like 4,000 over 35 years, that's like 100, more than almost 200 presentations per year. Wow.
Yeah, I had started at a very early age graduating out of college, and the very first opportunity I had was to get in front of audiences every day, sometimes twice a day. Twice a day, because I would deliver lectures. And back then they called them lectures. Now they're workshops, webinars, podcasts. And I think since I was in my 20s, I probably did more than half. Just in my 20s of that 4,000. It was an amazing cutting of my teeth and how to address audiences and help audiences to take a next step.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And of course, for the rest of us normal people, public speaking is that thing that we loathe. So you came out with a book that talks about that. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, the book is called No Fear Speaking. I decided to write this book years after taking all of the fat off the fillet, so to speak, right? Okay. And there's no filler in my book because it was through the years of experience. It's a distillation of all of the tools and tips and tables and illustrations that were successful through my coaching over the years of helping people become confident, comfortable, and commanding speakers. So that was the whole point of it, and then I released it in 2014. And what we did in 2014, it went immediately to bestseller on Amazon, and I decided that this would be needed in other countries because I was getting reaches from people through my workshops, and I said, look, let's get, they wanted me to come to their country to deliver workshops. And I
Wow.
said, you get the book published, and I'll get a translator, and you make copies of the book for your audiences, and I'm there. And it ended
Outstanding.
up 8 languages total. So I had several global tours as a result. That's what happened with the book.
Amazing. Amazing. What's your favorite place to travel to?
Oh, my goodness. I think that between 2 countries, South Africa and Hungary. And
Oh,
I've been to Russia. They're all
uh-huh.
great countries, but South Africa to me had the most harmony within its diversity.
Huh.
That's what
Okay.
I loved
Okay.
about it. And there's so much change. And I had Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who just recently passed away, endorse my
Yeah.
book. I have a photo with him holding my book. And
Wow.
it was to support his Freedom of Expression week that he was conducting in Cape Town. That was a
Wow.
beautiful experience.
Amazing. Amazing. I can only imagine. So, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about today was personal branding. As business leaders, as entrepreneurs, sometimes I think that we miss the importance of it. And I know this is an area that you've had expertise in. This was, part of our conversation when we spoke way back when, and in leadership development and that sort of thing. It's really important for us as leaders to know who we are and what we stand for, and of course, show up in a way that's very, very consistent and authentic. So, initially, what kind of gems would you drop? In terms of why this is important for us as entrepreneurs.
Oh, my goodness. Let's start with one thing. Let's start with the myth of what branding is. Because branding
Okay.
is not marketing. Branding is not promotion. Branding is a segment of public relations. And public relations is how do you make oneself and your company and services acceptable, desirable, with reputation and credibility positioned with it. And without branding, it's hard to do that. And so if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or even a senior executive in a company, you're going to need to know that you are the brand ambassador for your company, for yourself, for your services you're delivering. Branding is this. Branding is the art of differentiation. How does one differentiate themselves? How does one, are we still on?
Yes, we're still on.
Okay. How does one differentiate themselves above everybody else? You see? And so I have this, my screen just went off. I'm not sure if we're on or not. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay,
It's going to still continue to record even if you can't see yourself.
Okay, good. I'm not seeing you guys. I just wanted to let you know that as we're here.
No problem.
We can see you just fine, Joe. So.
Oh, good. All right. So I'll continue. Branding is so valuable in a business because it is what you want. It is the identity that you want your clients or customers, whether internal customers or outside the organization, identify you as. You see, and it must be something which is differentiatable. It's not just a logo. It isn't just a slogan or a tagline. It is how people think of you. And so I think it's absolutely essential that a part of our training for speakers and leaders is branding and learning the principles of branding, because when you get up and you're on camera, you are presenting yourself on a platform stage, or you're an executive running a meeting, running a team meeting, what are they going to remember about you?
Exactly.
What are they going to have in mind about you that they go, oh, that's Jimmy. He does that kind of thing. Or if you want someone who's an unleashed communicator, then you should go talk to that speaker. And here's a reason why. And I'll show you an example of it. Always good to show and demonstrate in some testimonial way that your brand is in action.
Okay. Outstanding.
Examples of this is, I think every entrepreneur needs to be visible.
Okay.
Every entrepreneur needs to appear if you don't appear, you can't really strengthen a brand. Your brand is your content. It's your demeanor on camera and how you present yourself. Are you a laid back, sincere person? Are you more intense? Are you unleashed? It doesn't matter what that is as long as you're being you. Right. So that takes it back to a number one principle. You are your own brand. So who are you? Do you know who you are when you show up? And so I tell you, Rick, Hazel, when I coach somebody, man, it's a thrill to watch that person fully 100% showing up. There's the brand showing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what does that process look like? I mean, it's obviously it's not one of those, 6 steps and, we're good to go. And, tell us about that. Well, kind of walk us through.
Well, the first thing I do is I want to know something about the goals of an individual. I want them to answer some questions that would help me understand what's important to them. Like, for example, what are their goals? And goals are very, very important. I want to know what they're striving for. I want to know in branding, you've got to know, like, what is the vision? And a vision is an imagination, visual statement of a goal. You see? In other words, I have a vision every time I show up. For me, I have a vision that I have that vision that I wake up to every morning and I go to bed with at night. And the vision for me, since I'm international and since communication is so influential, the vision I have is that countries are in harmony. I love the word harmony. I guess it's because I'm a music guy and been involved in music all my life. And there's this little cartoon that somebody posted, which I made sure went viral. It said, and it was a little girl sitting down at a piano, and there was like a little dog, kind of like barking the tones, right? And the slogan underneath this cartoon is harmony are 2 notes that love each other.
That's cute. That's cute. I like
Can you imagine
like
countries not fighting, not in conflict, not at war?
Yeah.
That's because there's harmony there. Why? Because those countries are in communication with each other. They are connected. We are living in an age of connection and communication now. There's no reasons why leaders of countries are not getting along. Well,
communication, right?
It's communication. And so this happens in business where you have conflict inside of an organization and they're not communicating well. Well, what happens to a culture inside a company if there's communication lacking?
Yeah.
The brand message being sent out to other companies and the public is weak if the culture is weak inside that company. We teach and coach executives and owners of companies how to create an ideal culture by ensuring that their brand is authentic and that they're influential people, and every one of their people are influential, that they learn the skills of communication in order to impact positive influence.
Outstanding. Love that.
It's so cool.
Yeah, isn't it key when you look at it? I had the opportunity of talking to heads of states in different countries, and they're very humble, very humble. Yeah. I had a chief cabinet member in Russia in one of my workshops in what I would call the Silicon Valley of Russia, a country, a city called Skolkovo, come up to me and say to me, how do I ensure that people know that when I'm talking to them, I care about them? Oh my God, what a great question!
Yeah,
in a cabinet member, well, you have to back up what you say. That was my answer. Say what you mean, and then show that you mean what you say in action.
Absolutely,
it's wild, isn't it?
That is. That's a great answer too.
I
Yeah, go
actually
ahead.
watched a TED talk like the other day, and this person was saying that, similar to what you said, it's important to care for your audience. It's important to care for the one that you're speaking to. But what is more important is to make them feel that you care about them.
Yes, my axiom, it's a law. Show your audience you care about what they care about. That's it in a nutshell. And sometimes the caring is missing. It's one of the C's in the 5 C's of a commanding speaker. Caring is number one. Can you imagine? People go, how do I become a commanding speaker? Well, the first C is caring. And then you have comfortable, confident, credible, and then charismatic. You see?
Okay.
You see, and charismatic, you think, well, what's charismatic? Charismatic is inspiration. It's showing and inspiring, moving, influencing, motivating people to do things. That's a leadership trait. And all of those other 4 C's have to be in for any charismatic to make its mark. Caring is number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is this, you were talking a little bit ago about like you have the 3 questions that you ask entrepreneurs. How is it typical that, they've got those answers for you, or, how does that work? If, I'm not, confident in where I'm going or want to go. I mean, how do you, I guess, help them continue to hone their thinking?
Well, I love smart questions. And I think one has to be very astute if they're going to lead people in any capacity to make sure that you're asking the right question. It's the question they want you to ask.
Okay.
I can always sense when someone goes, oh, wow, that's a great question. And it could be a simple question like, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And they'll go, oh my God, I don't know. That's a great question. I should have had somebody ask me that question 5 years ago. That's what I consider a smart question, Rick. And Hazel, when you talk about, questions or, caring and all of that, that has to naturally come through. But when you ask a question, you ask that question because you care about the answer.
Yeah.
You're not asking a question because, well, I have to ask this question now because it's on my list.
It's on my list.
Oh, man. Total disconnection right there.
Exactly.
That's another example of how you brand yourself. Do you want to brand yourself as a robot? Or do you want to brand yourself as a caring person who really genuinely is interested in the person you're talking to? Very different.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
And then you pull the string. You pull the string on that question, on the answer. You might go, well, that's very interesting. Thank you for telling me that. I have another question to ask for, and then it becomes a very interactive, engaged conversation that's going somewhere. Now you have something to work with. First thing I love to do, and I coach coaches to do this, is know where you're going before you get there. Everybody is different when you coach someone. So a question, even an executive becomes a coach at a company. That's the very important part of their skill as an executive, and to lead them and to help them is to coach them. How do you become an effective coach? You see, that's the key.
That is key. That is key. Developing your people, investing in your people. So, for I guess a typical business, a smaller business, maybe, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 people, something like that. How does this personal brand show up? And really, what are the, the benefits? Why would one stop, and invest in developing this personal brand when, you're such a small company? I wouldn't stop to develop a personal brand if it's a startup. I wouldn't. Okay. I would let the brand stew. I would make it like a crock pot. Branding is not a microwave. It's a crock pot.
It's a slow cooker. Some people try to put a title on a company, or they'll try to put a positioning of a visual on a company when the company hasn't really developed its culture of who it is yet.
For sure.
It's like this. Here's the example I use. It's a great question, by the way, Rick. Branding is like this. How do you get a title of a book when you haven't even started the book yet? If you get involved in the book, and it's called an immersion, you're immersing yourself in the book, like you're immersing yourself in your company as you're starting it. And you're getting a feel of what you want, what you don't want. Sometimes you may not know what you want or not want. And by accident, you go, I want the policies, the procedures, and the principles of my company to be like this, because I'm realizing now with so much public interaction, given who my audience or public is and where I'm servicing them, I want this culture now. Now you're developing a brand for your company because you've walked the walk a little bit, much like coming up with the title of a book.
Yeah.
You've been through the book for about a third of the way. This is what happened to me. I decided not to put a title on it until I was halfway through the book, and I'm going, my God, this is about helping people become fearless. Fearless. What's fearless? I don't know if I want to use the word no fear, right? And I'm going, no fear. And I look up online, and no fear is everywhere. There's a no fear brand, right? Athletics and no fear. I thought, how am I going to get that trademarked? I didn't worry about it. And so I just thought, what do I want them to have no fear doing? That was my question. I want them to have no fear speaking. Do I want them to have no fear public speaking? No. No fear speaking. It's public. Then I put on the slogan underneath it, high impact public speaking secrets to inspire and influence any audience. That's how I developed the brand of my book.
Okay.
Oh, you're the no fear guy. I went on radio shows and podcasts when my book was released 8 years ago. And talking with a no fear guy, Joe Yazbeck. Like I didn't ask for that, but that's how it developed. And sometimes questions would come up. Well, Joe, how do you help people overcome their fear of snakes and roller coasters? And you know what? I thought to myself, I don't mind a question like that, because I'm just going to bridge it right into communication anyway. I'm going to bridge it right into public speaking anyway, and how you've got to be fearless as a person to connect with people communicating. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So your question is a great question. It happens when you yourself embraced the identity that you want for the public you want, that you're seeking to attract. You see?
Yeah. That is beautiful.
That's the key.
Totally get it.
Thank you.
So what are some actionable steps that a company can implement right now to go towards that direction?
I think that you've got to be able to write out, you got to know who you are. You got to know what your non-negotiables are as an entrepreneur. You've got to be able to know what you're not going to compromise, because if you do that, you weaken yourself. So I would make a list of, like, for example, with me, I don't deal with people who are dishonest. I don't care how much money they pay me. I would never accept anything to engage with me from someone who is not going to help people or is doing it for their own selfish interests. That's a policy. Know the policies you operate on. You see, that's a gold nugget for me. Know the policies you're operating on. Know what principles. See, know the principles you're abiding by. Those are what I would call your code of honor. Your principles that you lay out, lay those out. That helps you to define you. It helps you to define the people you want to work with and the kind of people you're bringing in from a recruitment basis.
Okay.
The next step is, who are you helping and how are you helping them? Who's the public you're helping and how are you helping them? Know what that is. Define your public. If you don't define your public, you'll never be able to define your brand to connect your public to the identity you're trying to attract.
Absolutely.
You see? And then I'm going to tell you this, you have to be willing, and this is going to sound like a pitch, but it's not. You have to learn leadership skills and how to communicate and inspire people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to move anybody to do anything.
Totally. I agree with all that, 100%.
Like what you're doing, Rick and Hazel, what you guys are doing are phenomenal. Both you have businesses and you're using podcasting as a way to reach people. This is brilliant. It's brilliant because you're making your guests under the spotlight and you're helping them, but you're also boosting your brand as an entrepreneur. Sure. You see?
For sure.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. And, I think, in an authentic way, I mean, we look at, inspiring, educating people, to push forward, as business owners. And this is, one of the ways that, we've really committed to doing that. So thank you for noticing that.
Oh, well, it's easy to notice it because you're actually exhibiting it. You're not just, I've had a podcast where I was a guest on a podcast, and like every 5 minutes he'd be pitching his own company. And I thought, this is not good. People want to know that they like you and they can feel good about you and you're a caring individual and all of that. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah. And that comes about in the most authentic way.
It does. It almost sounds like, in a way, I mean, the way that it's presented, it's almost as though branding is really about other people and almost an ability to, I guess, in a way, almost an ability to invest in them. Is that, is that a way to think about it?
When you say invest in them,
we're caring, we're inspiring, I mean, that's outward. That's not something that, we're really doing for ourselves.
Well, it's interesting. How am I? I'll give you an example. I often think when I looked at this, how am I looked at? How am I observed? You see, what do people see when they go onto LinkedIn and see Joe Yazbeck's posting or the kind of clients that he has and all of that? I'm not just going out of my way to try to synthetically put something together. It's an outreach of who I am. I'm kind of an in-your-face Northeasterner. If you've ever met somebody from, I live in Florida, but I have kind of people said, Joe, you are the embodiment of what you teach. I'm extroverted. I'm unleashed. I'm expressive. I'm transparent to a fault sometimes. I mean, I might even hurt somebody in a just cause because I'm direct. Well, that's me. Why would I want to pretend that my branding is anything different than that? See, that's branding. It has to be authentic. Yeah, I have a chapter, Rick, in my book called Authentic versus Synthetic Speaking. And it's a dichotomy of what does it mean to be authentic as opposed to synthetic. Well, you have an extroverted person on the authentic side. You have someone who's introverted that has to make up things and rely on other things to communicate, like vias and dependencies. On the authentic side, this is all branding, by the way. And you have expressive rather than trying to impress. Your brand or your identity expresses, not tries to impress people. You ever talk to somebody trying to impress you? It's a turnoff.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're trying to make themselves look good.
Yeah.
I this and I that. And if you look at me, blah, 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 blah. Who wants to hear that? It's like, going on a first date and that person's doing nothing but talking about themselves. I mean, that's the last date. Exactly. Or trying to be interesting rather than interested. Authentic is interested, right? Authentic is natural rather than artificial. I've seen people try to put things together and make it look like somebody else's success visuals. They try to make it look like somebody else's, and they look like a copycat. That's bad branding.
Yeah.
See, branding, it's a great book, by the way. A very good friend of mine, one of my very good friends, wrote a best-selling book on branding. You should have him on your podcast.
Hey, make the introduction. I'd love to.
The name of the book is Brand Intervention.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Brand Intervention, and it's written by my very good friend, David Breyer.
Okay.
Brier. Okay. And he says, you've got to rise above the noise to get seen and heard. Okay. In fact, I think his website is risingabovethenoise.com or something like that. But you got to check him out. And he and I are big promoters of each other.
Okay.
You see, because you can't really build a brand without speaking about it.
Yeah.
You can't speak about a brand unless you're building it correctly with
Yeah.
him. So I've learned a lot with a lot of people over the years. Communication, live, appear, get online, appear in public. Nowadays, you can appear live and get away with it, so to speak. Make your message heard. Don't get so interested in self-promotion. Just help people. Give them value. Give them a sense that you're a trusted purveyor of value and benefit that they can use. And you're providing a platform right now for that to happen. That's the best way to build a brand, is by doing that.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's brilliant.
So I guess, I lost my question. Should have written that one down. It was a good one, though. Did you have a question, Hazel?
Okay, so, well, not all people are, extroverts, and not all leaders are extroverts, are expressive. Some people need to work for it, need to train themselves for it. And, we always say to these people that, you have to improve, but there's a struggle with that part, with how to start, basically.
Well,
so what do you tell to people to give themselves permission to actually excel in that craft, in that area?
All right, here I'm a big advocate that the best way to learn is by drilling and doing. Right? Learning is get the information, get the know-how, learn it, drill it, man. Drill it until you got it, and then apply it. And that's exactly what happens on my coaching sessions. Okay? I would never have the success with the clients I have in the world they live in if it wasn't for demonstrating that they can apply it through exercises, skill building exercises. That's why I meet with my clients every week. I meet with them, and it's an arsenal, literally an arsenal of tools. Step by step, it's what I call scaffolding. I scaffold them gradiently till they become fearless in the way to prepare and deliver any presentation to any audience, no matter the size, so that they are comfortable, commanding an audience, confident, and that they can inspire that audience as well. Okay? It's a program. And a program for me is a sequence of steps that people take, and it's built on a gradient of, look, athletes do it.
Yeah.
Athletes do it, artists do it. You don't get into the psychobabble of, oh, I know why you're afraid, because you were ridiculed when the teacher pointed you out. Who cares? Nobody cares about that. I don't. I don't even ask that question. I want to find out what the weak spots are, the challenging, the strengths are, because that's what I'm working with. And then it's a gradient process of building that confidence and then having them show me that they can do it. And then I critique what they show me and then build on that.
Loved.
It's beautiful. It's a sculpture. It's sculpting out and getting rid of what doesn't belong there, never changing the person, but having that person show up with all the qualities that have been hidden. Now you've got yourself a beautifully actualized person that can communicate authentically.
Repetition.
Skill building.
Right?
Yeah,
repetition. Is the key.
Exactly. How do you think ballet dancers get to be so good and so professional? It's repetition. Golfers, Tiger Woods, how many golf balls did he hit off the tee until he got it right? Probably 10,000 a day. Who knows? And then how many times he had to practice until even an event, a golf event, was practice to him. You see, people go out and they produce their events, and then they learn from them because they have to quality control them. That's a brand right there. That's a brand that says highest quality of standards possible. That's a beautiful brand. Why? Because they worked hard at it.
Yep.
Hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did. Absolutely did. Love it.
You actually, Hazel, you actually, we're kind of thinking along the lines that I was thinking in terms of like introverts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not, and I think that, we have to really clarify, introversion versus, just being shy, and being able to step up, in your own personal brand, still being authentic, but still being that introverted person that gets energy from themselves, from the internal.
That's very good.
And just as valuable, for that introvert.
Yeah. And I get the concept of what you're saying here. There are people that might consider themselves, and probably do, natural introverts. I don't believe that there's any such a thing. I've never seen a baby born and they're introverted. They're like effervescent. They cry big. They laugh big. They don't have any concept of like being endangered, even growing up into toddler status. They learn to be introverted. And this is where you have to unlearn. I'm telling you, I've seen people, I have examples of this where I took what he would consider himself the most nerd-like doctor of mathematics, a real techie, introverted nerd guy, because I've got to be able to get on webinars, and I've never done one. I'm not a salesperson. How do you help me? And I drilled. And I said, Richard, I don't want you to be anybody else but you. And he had a face on his first webinar after training him intensively to extrovert and to learn the standard operating procedure, what I call the artful science of public speaking. He had to learn it fast. He got on a webinar where he found out the day before there were 10,000 people on it. Right? I said, he was like, what do I do? I go, you just do what you're taught and trained to do. I said, you're talking to one person. That's all you're doing. Just talk to that one person. You're not talking to 10,000 people. You don't do that when you're talking to a group. Talk to that one person.
Exactly.
That man sold so many software packages for the marketing company that published it. He made millions of dollars on one webinar. I was so blown away. And it got me to realize how valuable public speaking and communication is for leaders, because they can show up and just be themselves and be who they are, be their own brand, and make a significant difference, and not try to sell, but just be themselves and communicate the value of what they produced. It's wild.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I don't believe there's any natural introvert, Rick. And believe me, if you can get somebody to change their mind about that, which you have to do that when you're helping people, you have to change their belief system that is holding them back to a belief system that can be better for them without enforcing it. That's the key about coaching. There's no enforcement. Just encouraging them.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So we're just about out of time, but I want you to share a little bit about your history with music, and your family as well, because I thought this was fantastic.
One of my favorite subjects. Well, my family is like my most favorite subject. My father was a trumpet player in the Army, World War II. Was a piano man. He loved big band music. I have a degree in theater. I wanted to become more extroverted, right? So I decided to take on acting, and I also wanted to do something in college, not just inflow what people were telling me and become a bookworm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the greatest change in my life, becoming an actor and learning I can get on stage and handle my shy demons, I call them, right? So that helped a lot. I was a singer, always a singer. I sing professionally,
Mm-hmm.
but the creme de la creme was my son.
Mm.
My son was born, and I realized the value of artistic presentation and being creative in the performance art of music and acting and dance. And he was at the age of 3. My son was looking at a rerun of Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Girl Crazy, I think, was the name of the black and white old film. And he's looking at it, and he's going, "I want to do that, Dad, Mom, Dad, I want to do that." He goes, what is he
Wow.
looking at? And he's moving and like, look, the age of 3, a human
That's
being can be
amazing.
inspired to have his purpose the rest of his life right there. Well, we got him lessons, and he then, did, recitals and won, you know, competitions in dance and acting and all
Amazing.
that. And at the age of 9, we got him an audition for a Broadway show in New York City,
Wow.
Gypsy.
Wow.
A Gypsy starring Tyne Daly, 250 kids. They're supposed to pick one person. And he was practicing and practicing, and this is where he would get up before he went to school, and he would practice on a wood slab for tap. He's a great tapper. Anyway, at the age of 9, he got his first Broadway show because we got him an agent in New York. He was in that show for a year and a half, and he's now one of the top Broadway stars in New York at the age of 42.
Amazing. Amazing.
So he's won awards. He's been nominated for Best Actor in a Musical, Tony Awards, and all kinds of things. He's teaching kids. He's just a great kid. He's married. His wife is now was in the business also. And I have a grandson who's 5 years old now, 5 next week. And wild how you look at the arts and presentation and aesthetics. So, I mean, I've recorded albums, and I've had big bands and that I've done lead vocals for. I've recorded, and I've had a beautiful experience where I've had Heartbeat Productions, where I've helped artists grow. I love
Wow.
helping artists grow. And I transitioned a lot of the coaching in that business I've had prior to opening up my leadership company 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of interesting transitions from the performing arts to the corporate field.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
How to really inspire an audience, whether you're online, all of those things. That public speaking is a performance art,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is. So that's
So
my
everything you've
history.
done.
Thank
So
you.
everything you've done is just kind of rolled up into what you're doing now. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I'm enjoying it. I love coaching. I don't think, people go, "Aren't you the owner?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I don't think I'll ever stop coaching. So what? You know, like, it's what gives me pleasure to help
Yeah, do what
others.
you love.
It
Yeah,
changed
exactly.
lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big reason why I do it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I love that change. And thank you. You've changed my life today.
Outstanding.
Happy to hear that.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. We
Geez.
really enjoyed it. Really glad to have you here.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it also. You guys are awesome. And tell Laura thank you for her back and forth prior to this broadcast.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you guys know how to ask very smart questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
My
All right,
pleasure.
folks. That about does it for another episode of Epiphany Off the Cuff. Again, Joe, Hazel, thanks for being on the show. Thank you all for listening or watching. We really appreciate that.
Can I offer
please-
something free? Can I offer
absolutely.
something free?
Please do. Please do.
Anybody listening to this, you're welcome to, if you want to provide my email address, you can do that. I'll make
We'll put it in
sure
the
that
show notes.
they get a free book.
Okay.
I'll offer a
Wow.
free book to anybody listening. Just let me know that you heard this broadcast, Epiphany Off the Cuff, and then I'll get them a free book. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic.
That's amazing.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll love it. I'm sure they will absolutely love it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, folks. Well, we're signing off for today. As usual, you can reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, or anywhere on the internet. And we'll see you next time on Epiphany Off the Cuff. Take care now.